What's up, y'all? Welcome back out to the garage to start off another fun video. We're supposed to have some old nasty weather headed my way. I'm hoping it misses me completely, but just in case it don't, and just in case we get some later on this winter, I figured I'd take my Arrma Granite here and add in some Integy tracks. I got two sets of these, and I've got me one of these Integy Plow kits right here. So I'm gonna take this stuff right here and make me a little winter weather machine. So let me show you right quick what I'm adding on here. Again, I've got two sets of these. They come two in a set. The tracks here, they do come with two tracks. They come with your little wheel nut tool there because it's such a deep well, you can't get in there with most stuff. And then it also comes with this exploded diagram here. And I would say that's a nice thing because it's got all your part numbers, but unfortunately, some of the main part numbers that you're going to want to pay attention to are wrong anyway. Like this 53033, this is for the front here, and I'll show you what these are in a minute, but you can see there, that's totally not the part number. It's C29149. It could be right for the X Max, but it's definitely not right for the Granite here. But I think I got things figured out at this point, so it's no big deal there. I'll show y'all what's going on. And then, of course, like I mentioned, I've got this Plow kit here. Now, you'll see I got these in red and this in orange. Really, the only reason I picked the colors that I did is I got this stuff back during Black Friday, and they was having a huge sale on all of these stuff like this, but it was just all different prices just depending on color for some reason. Probably how much stock they had, I'm guessing. So I just went with the red because it was dirt cheap, and this was incredibly cheap. I mean, it was next to nothing compared to what the price usually is. Now, as far as these go, they come already assembled, but what I did is went through on both sides here and took all of those little hex screws out and Loctited all of them, because I did read some reviews saying that they lost some screws that they worked out. So I Loctited every single one of them on both sides, so I shouldn't have a problem there. And then the other thing I got is something that you will need if you're going to put these tracks on here are front and rear bracket sets. Now, these come with a couple of brackets, a couple of axle pins that are a little bit shorter than the stock ones, and then 4 screws to attach these brackets. And I'll show you where they go. It took me a minute to figure out what was going on because none of this stuff had any kind of instructions with it, none at all. But I figured that they must go right here. And what it is, it just goes on here and kind of slides over your hubs like that and keeps this whole entire mass from rotating like that and just lets the track roll. So I'll go ahead and do one on the rear and front and show y'all what's going on. Now, I have gone ahead and you can see took the tires off. You can go ahead and take your hex off and your pin because you're not going to use either one of those. You will need your wheel nut, of course. So as far as this bracket here, this is the rear one. What you're going to do is use that top set of holes right there. That's going to be your flat surface. And then, of course, there's your top set of holes. You'll notice there's a little bit of a cut right there to go around that kind of little center axle. And you basically just center up and put a couple of these screws in it. So I'm going to put a little Loctite and put both of those in. And there you can see mounted up, nothing to it. Just make sure, you know, you got the little legs pointed down. You'll see why this is here when I put the track on. So then, of course, you just take one of your axle pins and slide through the stub there. And then you've got a slot there on the back of this wheel hub or track hub. And then, of course, you can use your little wheel nut tool that they gave you and put it in this big old deep hub right here. And it just tightens right up, just like a regular old wheel nut. And then use one of the little slots to use something, get some tightness on it. And then if you look from above here, you'll see what that bracket's for. It's to keep this thing from rotating, but just a little bit, because if it rotated, I mean, you could have a chance of your whole assembly just flipping around instead of the track. All right, I'll go ahead and put a front one on too. It goes on the same way, so I'll just show you where this bracket goes. Now, this front bracket's a little bit different. You'll see it's smaller. It actually kind of locks in right there on your steering knuckle. So you put it on the back side. So this is going to be the back side of the track. You'll want that on the back side right here. All right, I got that front one on. Let me show you real quick. These front brackets, they actually matter which direction they go on. It's going to be very difficult to show you all this now, but one of the legs is skinnier than the other one. This is the skinny one, and that one right up there is wider. I can probably show you better with this one here I haven't put on yet. You can see there. One's skinny, one's wide, but just make sure the skinny one's got to go on the bottom. It does matter because of how these are clocked. If you put the skinny one on the top, it's clocked up too far and you can't get it over your steering knuckle. So let me go ahead and stick these other two on and then we'll work on the Plow. All right, check this thing out, y'all. That's pretty wicked looking, I think. It looks pretty good with the red and the body. You've probably already seen it on the thumbnail, the body I made, but it'll look really good with that body. I think that looks awesome right there. And as far as the ground clearance, it's almost exactly the same same. I put one of my my Pro lines on here, and they're almost exactly the same. If you line up where the axle is, you can see the track and the bottom of the tires right there even. So that's pretty awesome. I'm really curious to see how they'll do. But let's give them a little 2S spin just to do a test on them. I'm really anxious to see these things turning here. So let's see what we get. Hopefully nothing's locked up on me. All right, steering works good. Full throw on the steering. All right, so it's definitely not, ooh, I mean, they'll go though. I'm almost afraid to rev it real high on the bench right here. So obviously now it's got a lot of drag, like you can see. They won't freewheel. It may be different on the surface, but I wouldn't expect them to, because I mean, you got all that rolling stuff going on there. So, but definitely cool looking. That ought to be pretty nice. All right, let's get this plow put together. I took a minute and separated all the different parts here, all the screws and everything. Obviously we know what the shock stuff is. All that shock stuff, these are just some little antennas, little feelers that go on the top there. So no big deal there. And I studied this right here for a minute. They got a couple different numbers on these screws, but none of them mean anything as far as length, because they got 28 and 27. I figured out the 28s are the short ones, 27s are the longer ones. So long story short, you really just got to look through and count how many you need to try to figure out what's going on here. So I think we'll start back here with this main support section, since I know where these go and I can kind of follow these lines a little bit better. So this is going to mount on the bottom of this section right here. So I'll probably do some of this on camera and some off and just give you little updates. All right, y'all, I had a change of plans. I was going to do some of this on camera, but it was just having to decipher this little diagram right here. I mean, these are just terrible instructions. They are correct, there's no doubt about it, but having to follow those little dotted lines to each side and try to figure out where they're talking about going, it was a pain in the behind. So I got it all together though. Everything looks really nice. You can see the suspension works nice on it. So if you hit something, it got some nice rebound on it. I didn't put any oil in these shocks. I did unscrew the bottom there just to see if they had any. There's none in there, but it does have a piston and it's sealed and everything. So you can put oil in there. I don't really see a need in that. It's just something else to leak is what I looked at it as. Now I did have one hardware error. The screws that they sent for the shocks were the wrong screws completely. They're the right length, but they're a little bit too big a diameter, and the socket size is just weird. It's bigger than 2, but it's smaller than 2.5. So I had to get some screws that I had on hand to use instead of the ones they sent. The rest of it was really straightforward. One thing I will mention that might help somebody if you're doing this is be careful when you're sliding this. Those two little O-rings, if you can't figure out what those are for, it's just to keep this little strap, this little adjusting strap from sliding. And make sure you put the smaller loop over the rod here so it doesn't slide off and get some slack. And this is for pulling to adjust in your blade. Now unfortunately it looks like you have to remove the front bumper completely to mount this, which is not a huge deal, but I didn't add a separate bumper on the body that I'm using for this because I had fit it for this bumper right here, so it might look a little funny, but these two right here go up underneath on the skid plate, and then these two right here go right there where your bumper mount here goes. You probably have to take this mount and everything off, I'm assuming. All right, y'all, check out this cool machine right here. I think this thing is too cool. Mr. Plow, you can see I've got the, this is actually a J Concepts. It's their GMC K10 body, their square body. So that's the body, and the roll bar is actually, I got a Traxxas Bigfoot kit and put the roll bar on it, and then made me a couple little Mr. Plow stickers there. So I think this thing looks very, very cool. The color on it is candy apple red anodized spastics, and I backed it with silver metallic. You can see the plow there. Very, very cool. I mean, I think this thing is awesome, y'all. Obviously, it's just something it's silly to mess around with. Nothing real practical. You ain't plowing no driveways or nothing with it, but I think it's very, very cool looking. I'm really curious to see how it does. Now, this thing, you did have to remove the entire front bumper. You see here the front bumper and the support, but no big deal, just a few screws. And then you put the, you screw that top bracket there into where your bumper or your crash supports go, and then the bottom, just a couple down there in your skid plate. And like I said, you're not going to be doing no real serious work with this thing, but it's got tons of adjustability on this thing. You got tons of different mounting points and your little strap there. What that's for is to give it tension to raise it up and down. I've got it most of the way up right now, but you can see it gives it tension. You can raise it and lower it. So pretty cool little setup right there. So I'm really happy with how this thing turned out. I'm looking out my window now. We're actually getting a little bit of snow flurries. Again, I hope we don't get a whole lot, but we probably gonna get enough to play with this thing in. So let's take it out there and see what it can do. All right, y'all, things have escalated quickly out here as far as the weather. As you can see, this stuff is coming down big time. It's slacked off a little bit, so I figured I'd come out here. Now, I got us on 3S right out the gate. I'm not sure about my plow adjustment. I'm gonna have to check that. Oh, wow, look at that, y'all. I mean, it's plowing snow out here, and that's heavy, wet snow, too. That's actually pretty awesome. You know, this was, I thought this was gonna be nothing but a novelty, but I actually might get some use out of this thing. Look at that, y'all. I mean, it's having no problem keeping traction either. That's actually pretty doggone wild. My plan was to come out here and just mess around with this just a little bit and then go back to the track and actually have some fun. But so the only problem I see is you definitely can't back up over a place you haven't plowed, because obviously, you know, you're not plowed. Well, actually, you can kind of plow backwards too. Check this out, y'all. Let's take a walk down to the end here. I mean, look at this. It is piled up. I mean, it's a huge pile. So one thing I don't know if it's possible to do is to adjust it at an angle, you know what I mean, to spill the snow out. I don't know if you can do that or not. I'll have to do some looking, because honestly, I just didn't expect it to be able to push so much where it would like overload the plow. Let's see if we can do it uphill. I mean, this is uphill. Y'all can see. I mean, that thing is just plowing, buddy. That's awesome right there. That is very, very cool. I didn't expect that at all. Now, I've got this plow down all the way pretty much, dragging the asphalt out here. It's got like a little rubber stop on the bottom. I'm barely giving it any throttle either, y'all. I'm just gonna push all the way down to the end here. I mean, you gotta be kidding me, y'all. If I can use this thing to plow my driveway, you better know I'm gonna do it. I mean, you better know I'm gonna do it if I can. Cause I'm telling you, this is a heck of a lot of shoveling. I mean, I'm sure I don't have to tell y'all. Y'all can look at it and see. Look at that, y'all. Oh no, I just lost a belt. I just popped a belt. I can't believe I just popped a belt on this thing already. All right, y'all, I regrouped and put the old ProLines Badlands back on. I don't know how much traction we're gonna get with these. Downhill probably won't be any problem, but turning and coming uphill might be an issue. Let's see. Actually, that's not bad at all, y'all. I didn't want to give up that soon. I mean, that's really disappointing on those tracks, though. That's really, really disappointing. I was actually looking at those things, and I meant to even mention it. I'll show y'all here on the outro. They have got just like one little seam where it looks like they've super glued them together. So I was kind of worried about that, honestly. But we'll see what they have to say about it. I'll get in touch with them and see if they'll send some more. Even if I have to buy some more, I'm hoping that you can get just the tracks separate. I'm pretty sure you can because of that parts diagram. Surely you can. Let's see if I can get on up this hill. I mean, look at that, y'all. It missed some of the plowing because when I got on the gas, it lifted the front end, but that thing's plowing nicely, y'all. I mean, really nice. So old Mr. Plow's getting it done out here. Barney better watch out. What was Barney's? I think Barney's was the Plow King, wasn't it? As far as the whole Simpsons thing, pretty sure Barney had the Plow King.
All right, let's make a couple more little passes here and then I'll wrap this thing up. I ain't gonna make y'all sit here and watch me plow my whole driveway. But as you can see, I mean, look at this thing, y'all. It's really actually doing work out here. Now, once it gets full, it starts sliding and the rear end starts sliding sideways. But if I could figure a way to tip it at a diagonal like I was talking about, I think getting out there on the road is rough on that plastic piece. It sure sounds like it. Well, I'm very surprised at this thing. I mean, look at that thing, y'all. But you can see what I mean. It starts spinning a little bit once it gets full. It gets a lot of weight. This has really surprised the heck out of me, though. Again, I didn't expect nothing, really. I just expected to have a little fun out here and for it to look cool. It definitely looks cool, but again, it does the job. I really hate that those tracks, or that one track busted, but I'll get a hold of them and see what they have to say about that. Check this out, y'all. Mr. Plow done some serious work out here. As you can see, I really legit just plowed my whole entire driveway with this little RC plow truck, y'all. That is very, very cool. I mean, not to mention how cool that thing looks. Just look at that little cool looking truck. That is very, very cool. So old Barney, I think Barney tried to sabotage us by taking out one of our tracks and with his Plow King business, but old Homer wasn't giving up. We went and pulled out some spare tires and finished the job. So I'm actually gonna call it right here for this one, y'all. This was actually a whole lot of fun. Although it was disappointing for that track to break, it was still super fun to have fun with that plow. I really wanted to get out there on the track with those tracks, but it just happens, you know, what can you do? I'll get in touch with them to see what they have to say about it, but still a lot of fun out here. I'm not gonna drag this outro out too long because it's definitely cold. So if you did enjoy the video, reach down and click all those buttons. All that stuff really does help, so I appreciate it. Got tons of good stuff on the way, so stay on the lookout, and I'll see y'all soon.